Bagamoyo, Tanzania. It's an idyllic location and one that since May has been part of the world's largest and most advanced ever clinical trial for a malaria vaccine.
At the moment, we have started with the phase 3 evaluation of the RTSS vaccine. And this evaluation will be covering about 11 sites in 7 African countries. In Bagamoyo, in Tanzania, we are going to enroll about 1,200 children in 2 age categories.
In all, 16,000 children up to the age of 17 months will be enrolled in the trial of the candidate vaccine. It's been developed by GlaxoSmithKline in partnership with the Path Malaria Initiative and supported by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which has so far contributed $180 million to the project.
This is the very first vaccine for malaria that reaches phase 3 in Africa and has this chance of success.
We are a technical partner and a financial partner managing funds that have been granted to us by the Gates Foundation, and we do an interface with the sites in Africa that are a critical partner to this phase 3 trial.
The malaria parasite kills almost 1 million people per year, most of them children living in sub-Saharan Africa.
Over 90% of people who die in children are in Africa.
Here in Bagamoyo, malaria is an ever-present threat.
She came with a history of fever and convulsion. She received the quinine and she also received the blood transfusion.
GSK has been working on a malaria vaccine since 1983, but given that there's never been a vaccine created for any parasitic disease in humans, it's proved an incredibly difficult challenge.
You have to keep in mind that the parasite that causes malaria is order of magnitude more complex than, let's say, viruses or bacteria.
The complexity comes from its structure and the ability of the organism to protect itself from attacks from the immune system and so on.
The trial vaccine is administered to half the infants taking part, alongside standard immunizations. They've come from 15 villages surrounding the hospital, covering an area of about 1,000 square kilometres. Once they've returned home, they'll all be carefully observed. Well, Catherine and Fatima have just had their vaccinations back at the hospital, but for the next 6 days they'll come here to this dispensary in their village to make sure they're not suffering any ill effects from the injections. After that, they'll have regular follow-ups over the next 3 years to see what effect the vaccine is having. Although no one's expecting the vaccine to provide complete protection against malaria.
What we've seen in the clinical trials that we've conducted in Africa in children up to now is an efficacy in the neighborhood of 50 to 55, 60% against various manifestations of the infection and of the disease.
Even a 50% protection against malaria translates to hundreds of thousands of lives saved every year.
If the results are positive across the trial, the vaccine could be released by 2014. By that time, GSK will have spent up to $450 million on the project. But with malaria largely confined to developing nations, the vaccine isn't designed to be a money spinner for the company.
We're committed to make sure that price will never be a barrier to access of the vaccine to people or kids who need it.
Which may well provide a reward far greater than money.
This vaccine will have a major impact in improving the lives of people living in malaria endemic areas in Africa.
It's a very exciting time for us, and especially for me. For a scientist to see his life's work finally developed into a drug that could save hundreds of thousands of lives is an incredible, indescribable feeling.